Great. So, hello everyone. Welcome. My name is Kayla Gomez, and I'm a program coordinator at Ventures. Thank you for joining us today as we share our report, a city like me, Santa Cruz, the value of a representative government. This report was published in 2022 in partnership with the City of Santa Cruz to paint a picture of the city's elected and appointed representative bodies. It was inspired by efforts with the City of Santa Cruz's Health and All Policies work and the report we did in partnership with Santa Cruz County, a Santa Cruz Like Me report in 2021. Special thank you to the members of the City of Santa Cruz's Health and All Policies Committee and Tiffany Wise West, who helped us distribute this survey and met with us to make this report possible. Again, I'm Kayla, and I'm a program coordinator at Ventures. I've been with Ventures for a couple years now. I worked on the last report we published with the county in 2021 as well, and work mostly within our advocacy component. And in the next slide, just before we get into the report, I wanted to share a little bit about who we are as Ventures. Ventures partners with rural Latino working class families in California's Central Coast to implement transformational programs that ensure a shared and prosperous economic future for all. And on the next slide here, I have a graphic which shows our transformational programs and kind of how they fit together. So we have our Familias con Más, which works to build financial capability and economic power for our communities. We have Futuro, which is a pilot effort being done in Salinas Valley to develop worker cooperatives as a way to build generational wealth and address the wealth gap. And Alas is a leadership development program with a guaranteed income component to ensure that financial capability and sustainability of families. Semillitas creates automatic college savings accounts for every child born in Santa Cruz County. And we have an emergency relief programs like DocuFund Monterey Bay and wildfire relief, which support communities during emergencies. And along with all of this, we also do advocacy. Our transformational programs are all interconnected, and they're the way in which that we implement our vision of creating a prosperous economic future for all, where zip code, gender, race, nor immigration status do not dictate income or wealth. And a city like me, Santa Cruz, fits within our advocacy efforts. It's a conversation about what is the makeup of our city's representative bodies and how is it reflecting the population to ensure that our policy decisions are having a wide equity lens to the work ahead. So a Santa Cruz like me, a city like me, Santa Cruz, is a partnership between Ventures and the City of Santa Cruz to paint a picture of our city's elected and appointed representative bodies. It was inspired by efforts with the City of Santa Cruz's Health and All Policies work and Santa Cruz County's A Santa Cruz Like Me report. We did this report back in 2021 at the county level, and it started when we had seen some efforts being taken at the state level actually to take a look at the diversity of our leadership and ensure that it is representative of the diversity of our state. A little bit of background on the next slide. This effort is also meant to acknowledge that policies our local leaders form and vote on directly affect our communities. So it is important that these leaders reflect the diversity of our region, and also recognizing that lived experiences of those serving in governmental positions do influence the way people make policy and economic decisions. So we saw this as an opportunity to continue the work of identifying opportunities to close gaps in representation. Thanks to the City of Santa Cruz reaching out and wanting to do a report at the city level. And as I go into the methodology of how we were able to conduct this survey, I did want to note that the survey was delivered in partnership by the City of Santa Cruz in the summer of 2022, and it was distributed to city commissions, committees, and city council members to voluntarily disclose demographic and population descriptive indicators. All of the commissions and boards participated in this survey, with 63% of all possible respondents completing the survey. And regarding the participation, before we take a look at the data, I want to note that some participants opted out of certain questions, and the percentages shown reflect the calculations based solely on the data collected from respondents that completed the respective survey question. The data collected was compared to the American Community Survey and the US Census population level data using DataShare Santa Cruz, which is the central hub of information for Santa Cruz County. In addition, our team reviewed and compared overall population data from the county's Santa Cruz Like Me report. So you'll also see in the data some of the county data. And now to get into the data. Just so you know, I wanted to point out that we did highlight in red where there is a significant variance of 10 points or higher so that it's more visible. I also wanted to note that there's a column we didn't include here, which if you see there's city survey data, city variance, county survey data. We didn't include the county data column in the report, just for clarity so that we can make it a little bit more readable. But if you did want to see those numbers, they're available on our website in our county report. And then, you can do the math by taking the county survey data and comparing it to the county variance. So to get into the zip codes, what you can note here is that there are variances for all zip codes, and we worked with the city to define the zip codes before we had conducted the survey. But the zip code with the highest variance between those that were surveyed and the population data we have from DataShare is 95060. This zip code covers the west side of Santa Cruz, which includes downtown areas and areas surrounding the university. And what's important to note about the zip code as well is that in looking further into the data, we were able to see that this particular zip code 95060 holds a large percentage of high income earning and educated populations. And we'll show that again in our findings a little bit later. But if you look at the age, as we can see both the city and county levels, we see that there are clear disparities within all age groups. And we had zero representation of youth from 18 to 24, and a high representation of working adults and seniors between the ages of 25 and 84. For race and ethnicity, which is in the next slide, you can see that the variances are within the Latino, white, and non-Latino and Asian populations, with an underrepresentation in Latino and Asian, and overrepresentation of white, non-Latino populations. For education, we have a high representation of college graduates, and at the city and county level, we had a pretty high representation of those with master's degrees and higher as compared to the population data. We also asked about housing because, as we know, that's a very important topic in our city especially. So we can see here that there's a significant underrepresentation of folks who are renters, with 28% of elected and appointed government officials being renters as compared to 54% of our city population who are renters. And with income, we can see the variances better when combined up at the top. So we see that as we get higher up in the brackets, there's a higher representation as compared to the population data. And the lower, going toward less income, there's less representation. And we don't have county data for this one. We didn't collect it. Yes, this is household income. So with that, I will jump into our findings and our observations. And I mentioned a few through looking into the data, but to start off, we have a critical overrepresentation of the zip code 95060. And survey results show a 22% overrepresentation as compared to census data. Again, it's important to note that based on the 2021 American Community Survey, 50% of high income households, and we noted that as 100K and above, um, and college graduates in the city reside in this zip code, thus making this specific zip code overrepresentation impact pretty much all other aspects of lived experience and demographic representation at commission and board levels. We also have a critical overrepresentation based on age, education level, and income. So survey results showed zero representation of young adults ages 18 through 24, um, despite 38% of young adults ages 18 through 24 making up our population, who indicated having a 4-year college degree or higher and a variance of 26% for households earning 100K or higher. And then we also have a critical underrepresentation of people of color. You can see in the data that there is a 34% undercount of people of color, with the greatest variance showing up for Latino identified population. You can also see this in the county variance as well. And then we had a critical underrepresentation of renters. So renters make up only 28% of board and commission membership, as compared to 54% of the general population. And this was also seen at the county level where similar 28% variance was found. With that said, we have some recommendations. So our first of our recommendations, similar to the county, is to create a committee to review variances and propose solutions. And committee members would be charged with exploring solutions to decrease existing variances and monitoring progress. And then our second recommendation is to embed the collection of demographic information during the application and onboarding process to really capture a complete picture of who's applying and ultimately appointed. And it's recommended that demographic information be collected during the application process for all board and commission positions. This will help the city understand a little bit more who is applying. And our next recommendation is to educate applicants on the demographic information collection as a key strategic. So to support the engagement and data collection process, we think it's very important that candidates for appointment also understand the purpose and role of the data collection process, and also understand the key demographics of the local city. And to include city data review as part of the onboarding process. So we also recommend that the onboarding process for appointees, including those with appointment power, um, include a review of the demographic makeup of the city and the data dashboards that are available. And finally, our recommendation is for the city to work with the County of Santa Cruz to review variances within both the city and the county. And as we saw from the data, we found that there are clear variances across both, and this could really help align efforts to identify common causes and leverage approaches and purpose solutions around equity and representation. And thank you for tuning in. The next slide really just shows my contact information available on the screen.